So this is an eviction based on the non-payment of rent. The monthly rent is $3,059. There's been a failure to pay since September 1st of 2025. Due to that default, there was a 3-day notice to vacate that was posted on the interior of the main entry door on October 13th of 2025. To our knowledge, the defendant has yet to vacate. So because of that, we are seeking back due rent for September, October, November, and a prorated December for a total amount of $8,175.12, as a partial payment was made on October 20th. Today, we are seeking possession of the leased premises, back due rent, court costs, and attorney's fees in the amount of $800. Would you like to hear my testimony about attorney's fees now, or would you like to wait?
No, you can go with that now.
Okay. So my colleague Aaron DuBois did approximately, there's been a total of 2.5 hours done on this case. My colleagues Aaron DuBois and Rachel Smith have done the work leading up to this trial, Your Honor. Aaron DuBois charges at an hourly rate of $350 an hour, or $300 an hour, and Rachel Smith does an hourly rate of $95 an hour. We have accumulated $688.50 of work on this case thus far, not including our time here today, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Oladipupo, are there any payments that you've made or any credits that you believe you're entitled to that you did not receive?
Yes, Your Honor. I dropped off a $5,000 cashier's check to the leasing office a couple of days ago, and I offered
What day
to.
was that?
This was on the day after Thanksgiving. This was on
So
Saturday.
Friday. And they
Yeah,
accepted that check?
Yes, I handed it to the concierge because this was after the office was closed at the time that I arrived, and I spoke to Paul, the
So who's the
assistant
concierge?
manager.
Is that an employee of the management company?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Rivera, do you have knowledge of a $5,000 check?
Yes, sir. It is on my desk right now. We have not processed.
So you haven't accepted it yet?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Mr. Oladipupo, anything else that you wish to add?
Your Honor, I've been a resident of the Quincy for 3 years now, and prior to all of this, going on, I had informed Paul that the reason for me being late is due to the family crisis I was having back home. And my father eventually passed, and this was when I told him all about it. I literally was sending every dime I was making to my family, and it got really bad to where I had to choose between attending my father's funeral in Nigeria or sending the money to my family to actually take care of the funeral. Till today, I still don't know where my father's buried, just due to all of this going on. It's been 3 years since I've been here, and I've paid rent up until September, which to this, my father has been needed to depend on private healthcare in Nigeria, which is quite expensive. And then eventually he passed. But that's, by the way, I've explained all of this to him, and I tried to humanize myself and, made him understand that this isn't a case of me not wanting to pay, but these are like this part of my life is just, it's just been really tough on me, and I needed some time. I was willing to pay, and over the past 2 months, I have remitted over $14,000 to the coffers of the management office. I mean,
let me get in here for a second, y'all, because if we look at the totality of this whole situation, based off the totality, which I'm going to outline, I actually kind of believe this guy. I believe that he just kind of had a personal issue come up. And here's why. They started off and they said his rent was about $3,000, which we can address that in itself. But cool. His rent's $3,000. He was late for a few months. And then she also mentioned the amount, which they said that he would need to pay is $8,000. But it sounds like this is around November, and she actually told the judge they prorated that amount to December, and his rent's $3,000. So technically, up to this date, he owes $5,000. They just prorated the other three to December. So he actually came in there and gave them a check a few days ago for $5,000. Now, does it seem like he's sitting on the money? And that court was right around the corner. So now, in order to look good in front of the court, he tried to go and give them the money now, but they've been waiting this whole time and been on pins and needles wondering if he was going to pay. Yes, sure. But he caught it up, right? Sometimes they get in court and they're like, Judge, is there anything you can do? And the judge is like, well, what can you put on it? And they might have a $10,000 balance. And they're like, I can put $300 on it, right? He went ahead and he wiped it away. So, as well as he's been at the apartments, the Quincy, for over 3 years. So it sounds like he's been a good tenant for 3 years. And that's my final reason, right? He's been there for 3 years. He's coming with a valid excuse that he had to take care of his father. And he pretty much paid everything up to par. I would actually say he's probably a good tenant, especially that rent ain't cheap. And like I said, we're going to address that in itself. But I think he might have just had a circumstance that came up. Like he said, his father passed away, probably in another country, and he's having to send money over there. Now, I don't see why, if your father's in Africa or whatever, you would have to send over there this amount of money. I think American dollars convert pretty well. I mean, you don't have to send your entire rent because your rent's already high. But we'll address some of the other stuff. Let's get back into the case.
I think this demonstrates my willingness to pay. It's not just me not wanting to pay. If the funds were there, I would have made the payment. It just wasn't at the moment. And I'd actually offered to pay the balance after dropping off the $5,000. I offered to pay the balance of $2,000, $2,500 and something dollars via electronic means. But on the platform, every means of payment has been deactivated. So I spoke to Paul about it, and he said it had to be remitted via cashier's check, which I should be able to provide that if I'm given some time to. I'm willing to remedy this, because if I have to lose a home over my head, it's definitely going to crush me. I mean, this is literally all I have at the moment.
So first, I'd like to say, accept my condolences for your loss. I know that can be difficult, and typically the vast majority of people that come before the court, it's because of something similar to yours, which is, loss of family, a health crisis. It's a, job loss, a number of things that happen, and it puts people in this type of situation. And it's unfortunate that it happens as often as it does, but those are just facts of life and things that we have to deal with and overcome. With that said, everything that you explained to me, that is all information for Mr. Rivera to take into consideration and for you all to work something out. I'm not in a position to accept any of that as evidence in the case other than that $5,000 payment that you made. Okay, so the question to Mr. Rivera, is that a payment that you're planning on accepting at this stage of the game, or are you still holding on to that with the intent of giving that back? Plan, Mr. Rivera.
The plan as of right now is to continue with the eviction.
Okay, and so is that saying then that you have not accepted that check yet?
We have not accepted, no, sir.
Right. So, Mr. Oladipupo, basically what that means is the past due rent, according to the testimony that was given, is $8,175.12. Assuming that Mr. Rivera were to accept the $5,000 check, you'd still be $3,175 short of the amount. And so you still have to come up with the difference. Now, even assuming that you were to come up with the $3,175, there is the issue of the late fees. There are the issues of December rent. There are the issues of any other fees associated with this. Those are not included in this because the only judgment.
So let me make a correction then. I guess that $8,000 balance is really what he owes. which would make sense because they did say quite a few months. And that's what I was kind of wondering about. I was wondering if he was paying a little bit each month, but it sounds like for all those months, September, October, November, he was late, which would add up to around that 8,000. And then what they're saying is he would also have to have the money for December. Okay.
Amount that they can get is for rent only. So I don't know what else is due besides the rent. It could be valet fees, could be parking fees, could be utility fees. It could be a number of things, right? I don't know what the actual ledger balance is beyond simply what the rent is, okay? So with that said, I can only make a decision based on whether the rent is paid and or whether or not are they entitled to possession. Okay, all other factors are not relevant in this court, and I don't mean to sound insensitive to you, because I understand you're going through a difficult time, but unfortunately I cannot consider any of those things with respect to a decision here today, because this type of case doesn't allow me to do so. Okay. Now, with that said, I find that the monthly rent is $3,059, that the past due rent prorated through today is $8,175.12. I will grant attorney's fees in the amount of $800. So that is also a cost that you would have to pay in order to be able to remain in the apartment complex beyond December rent, late fees, those other things. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, so pretty much he loses. But here's what I want to address. What I want to address, notice the judge is bringing up all these fees. He even threw in there, he said late fee, and he even threw in there a valet fee. And what this indicates, if the $3,100 rent for an apartment didn't give it away, this brother is living in an expensive apartment. Keyword, not house. This dude has an apartment that's $3,000 with valet. And on top of that, I mean, let's be real. You're gonna go this far and have an expensive apartment and not probably have a nice car too. So ultimately what I'm saying is he's living in luxury over here, but then at the same time, he has responsibilities to his family that he possibly has to send money to in another country. So what I'm ultimately trying to say is that he kind of put himself in this situation because of his discernment. Because ultimately you're going to have to prioritize, sir. You're going to have to prioritize what's important. If taking care of your family in another country is so important, then you can still live good over here, but you probably don't get to live in luxury over here at the Quincy, right? Because you still have to do what you need to do over there. You're going to have to make certain concessions. Or you can live how you want to live over here, but you're going to have to place forth some boundaries for your family over there and let them know, hey, I mean, I got to do what I'm trying to do over here. Maybe I'm over here because I want to be around connections. I want to be in a good area that would facilitate me to be able to grow faster. And ultimately, I have to make sure my glass is full before I'm trying to pour into everybody else every which way. And that's the main thing I would say. Priorities and making sure that you're straight. Because if you're not straight, you're not going to be able to help anybody else. Like he just said, his home is the only thing he has, and he's not going to have a roof over his head. So now, when you get evicted and you don't have a roof over your head, as well as your reputation, credit-wise, is now botched. So now you can't go to another apartment and, gain tenant status over there. No matter how much money you make, income you make, once they see that eviction on your record, that pretty much flags that they don't even want to deal with you. People don't understand you can get shadow banned for housing in America just based off of having an eviction from a previous apartment complex. Not even that you don't have the money. So now he's going to have to try to find a private renter who will rent to him. And guess what? Sometimes they check your credit and your rental history too. It's going to be hard is what I'm saying. And now, how are you going to be able to help your family over there when now you got to focus on not being on the street? That's why you should have took care of your responsibilities, your obligations first. Then you try to see what you can do for others. Because now you're not going to be any good to anybody. Because now you're destitute. And guess what? That's going to trickle into your work life as well. Mess around, you come to work smelling funky, lose your job. So that's ultimately what I'm saying. You have to have discernment and you have to prioritize yourself before you can try to help anybody else. And that was his fatal flaw. That was his fatal error. And like I said, I don't think he really had any business living in that expensive apartment anyway. I don't know which state he lives in, but he just made some bad choices that now have the potential to put him in a really bad situation. So I wish him the best, but you just got to make better choices and you got to learn from this situation and you got to move smarter moving forward. But y'all, let's leave it there. Like the video. Also subscribe if you want to join the Legion. Hype the video as well. Hyping the video helps smaller content creators like myself. And YouTube pushes us more in the algorithm, gets us more exposure. And then also feel free to join the Patreon as well, where I post self-improvement content. Until then, I'll catch you in the next video.